welcome. Hello. Hi, Snowy, welcome, dear. Hi, Sandy. Hello, everyone. I am good. How about you? Thank you so much for joining. Comments your good names. Remas. Hello, dear Remas. It is a beautiful name. Hi. Welcome. How are you all? Sandy. Hi, dear Sandy. Here is yours. Welcome. Oh, thank you so much. Hi. Have a good day to all of you. Thank you so much. Let's see who is next. Welcome. Ken is back. Hi, dear Ken. How are you? It is a beautiful name. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Hi, Ken. How are you? Ryan. Hello, dear Ryan. It is a good name. How are you? I am good today, so good to have you here, dear. Have a good day. Hi, dear Saswan. Here is yours. How are you? How's today? Pretty hot because the weather is too hot here. Hi, dear Shlok. Here is yours. How about yours? Hello, dear Iroda. It is a beautiful name. How are you? I have read you one. Oh my god. Thank you so much, dear. Hi, dear Tasmia. Here is yours. Hello, dear Medina. It is a good name. Hi, dear Geeta. Here is yours. Hello, dear Azalea. It is a beautiful name. Why not, dear? Yeah, yes, of course, can. Hello, dear Miriam. Here is yours. Hi, dear Abhinaya. It is a good name. Hello, dear Virat. Here is yours. Hello, dear Mihriban. It is a beautiful name. Good day to all of you. Hi, dear. What is your name? ULUGBEK. Here is yours. Are you from Uzbekistan, dear? Hello, dear Sinar. Here is yours. Hi, dear Ina. It is a beautiful name. Hi, dear Dilnavel. Here is yours. Hi. Hello, dear Verda. Here is yours. Welcome back, Steffi. How are you? Here is yours. Hi, dear Nora. Here is a good name. Hi, Oscar. Here is yours. Yeah, you are from Uzbekistan. Thank you so much for joining. Hello, dear Maisdo. Here is yours. Hello, dear Oceanus. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Izara. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Rohit. Here is yours. Hello, you are from America. Welcome, dear. How are you? Hi, Aleph. Hi, dear Saika. Here is yours. Hello, dear Asim. Here is your beautiful name. Hello, Farouk. Here is yours. Your name is America. Okay, dear. Here is yours. Don't forget to double tap on your screens. Hi, dear Leva. Here is a good name. Hi, Karthik. Here is yours. Hello, dear Zainab. Here is your beautiful name. Let's see who's next. Hi, dear Kia. Here is yours. Hello, dear Rayan. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Rafin. Here is yours. Hello, Zainab. How are you? Here is yours. Okay, let's try Uzbekistan. Here is yours. Let's see who's next. Hi, dear Candle. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Isa. Here is yours. Maybe. Welcome back, Lala. Here is a beautiful name. How are you, dear? Hi, Yeshu. Here is yours. Hello, dear Gauri. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, Jyoti. Here is yours. Hello, dear Bobby. Here is yours. Hi, dear Sani. Here is your beautiful name. Oh, you're most welcome. Hi, dear Aditya. Here is yours. Hello, dear Payal. Here is yours. Hi, dear Vanya. Don't forget to double tap on your screens to like this live, guys. Hey, dear Crystal. Here is yours. Hi, dear Harsh. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Gaga. Here is yours. Hello, dear Oibek. Here is your good name. Hey, dear Pihu. Here is yours. Hi, Alina. Here is your beautiful name. Hello, dear Shagun. Here is yours. Hi, dear Karen. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Sahiba. Here is yours. Hello, dear Daniel. Here's a good name. How are you? Don't forget to double tap on your screens. Hi, dear Sarah. Here is yours. Hello, dear Abira. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Rohan. Here is yours. Hi, dear Neil. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Gurus. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Fuzzy. Here is yours. What a unique name you have. Hello, dear Abdullah. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hi, dear Umesh. Here is yours. Hi, Jojo. Here is yours. Hello, dear Fahad. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Somadi. Here is yours. Hello, dear. Thank you so much, dear. Love you too. Hey, dear Cairo. Here is a good name. Hello, dear Keshav. Here is yours. Hi, dear Etana. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Darwin. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Navya. Here is yours. Hello, dear Yahya. Here is your good name. Hello, dear Taya. Here is yours. Hi, dear Maisie. Here is your beautiful name. Hello, dear Manu. Here is yours. Hi, dear Nova. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Ruth. Here is yours. Hello, dear Daisy. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hi, Lana. Here is yours. Let's see who's next, guys. Don't forget to double tap on your screens. Thank you so much for saying it right. And thanks for doing it. It's okay, dear. You're most welcome. Lots of love. Hi, dear Connie. Here is your good name. Hello, dear Vera. Here is yours. Hi, dear Marvel. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Aisha. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Jessica. Here is yours. Hello, dear Namish. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hello, dear Fabia. Here is yours. Hello, dear. Yeah, thank you so much. Dear Rio, here is yours. Hey, dear Darling, here is your beautiful name. Hey, dear Yara, here is yours. Hello, dear Huda, here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Amina, here is yours. Hello, dear Merida. Thank you so much for your love and support, dear. Lots of love. Here is yours. Hi, dear Cadence. Here is your good name. Hey, dear Maya. Here is yours. Hi, dear Isla. It is a good name. You're most welcome. Hey, dear Naim. Here is yours. Hi, John. Welcome back. Hey, dear Bella. Here is yours. Hi, dear Seafrog. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Vivian. Here is yours. Don't forget to double tap on your screens. Hi, Raza. Here is yours. Hello, dear Huda. Here is yours. Hi, dear Taha. It is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Mahi. Here is yours. Hello, dear. Thank you so much. Aman. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Connor. Here is yours. Hello, dear Ali. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Umar. Here is yours. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hi, dear Anamika. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Dido. Oh, what a cool name you have. Here is yours. Hello, dear Linda. Here is your good name. Hi, Komal. Here is yours. Hello, dear Virgil. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Komal is done. Viona. Hey, dear Viona. Here is yours. Hi, dear Hadia. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Let's see who is next, guys. I found. Huh? No, dear Yara. Don't think like that. I love you. Hey, dear Lela. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Mahiba. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Rosie. Here is yours. Hello, dear Friday. It is a good name. Okay, okay, okay. Let me write for you, dear Yara. It is a good name. Don't think like that, dear. Here is yours. Let's see who is next. Hi, dear Lucky. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Ayan. Here is yours. Hello, dear Samya. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Nina. Here is yours. Guys, don't forget to double tap on your screens, and there is a subscribe button waiting for you. Finger press, guys. Rutila, welcome back. How are you? Hi, dear Ali. Here is yours. Hi, dear Sahamir. It is your beautiful name. How are you? Hello, dear Yana. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Lily. Here is yours. Hello, dear Archie. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Rika. Here is yours. Hello, dear Naya. Here is your good name. I am good. How about you, dear? Hello, dear Baron. Here is your beautiful name. Thank you so much for asking. Hi, dear Akib. Here is yours. Hi, dear Razan. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hello, dear Ajwa. Here is yours. Hi, dear Hood. Here is yours. Hello, dear Nanda. Yeah, Ken, I do. Here is yours. I do remember you. Hi, dear Ratu. Here is yours. Don't forget to double tap on your screen, guys. Hi, dear Dhanush. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hello, dear Emily. Here is yours. Hi, dear Sadia. Here is your beautiful name. Oh, hi, Virgil. Welcome back. How are you? Thank you so much for joining again, dear. Lots of love. Let's see who is next, guys. Hey, dear Selby. You are the sweetest, dear. Here is yours. Hi, dear Sangam. Here is your beautiful name. Lots of love. Thank you so much. So happy to have you here again. Hi, dear Kirtana. Here is yours. How are you? Hey, dear Mary. Here is yours. Hi, dear Rachel. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hello, dear Angela. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Haya. Here is yours. Hello, dear Anisha. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Haya. Here is yours. No, I'm not singing. Why do you think like that? Henry. Welcome, Henry. Sorry, I can't understand this language, but I think your name is Henry. So here is your good name. Thank you so much for your precious time. Hi, dear Hazel. Here is yours. Next is Faisal. Hi, dear Faisal. Here is yours. You're most welcome, dear. Thank you so much. Hi, dear Karthik. Thanks for the compliment. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Alia. Here is yours. Hello, dear Sakshi. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hi, dear Moise. Here is yours. Let's see who's gonna be the 50 liker, guys. Hi, dear Cian. Here is yours. Hi, dear Arman. Here is your beautiful name. Hello, dear Dina. Here is. Oh, Dina, not Deepa. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Rode. Here is yours. Hello, welcome. Dear Ibrahim, here is yours. I am fine. Oh, good to have you here. Thank you so much. I am doing good. How about you, Mozambique? Here is yours. Thank you so much for asking. Hi, dear Sherwin. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Sajid. Here is yours. Hi, dear Ermac. Welcome back. How are you? It is a good name. Hi, welcome. Hello, dear Manisha. Here is yours. I'm good. Hey, dear Summer. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Kinara. Here is your beautiful name. Hey, dear Aven. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Zainab. Here is yours. Hello, dear Aniket. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Faiz. Here is yours. Hello, dear Aida. Here is your beautiful name. Don't forget to double tap on your screens. Let's see who is next. Sibkaji, walaikum salam. I am good. How about you? Here is yours. Hey, dear Han. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Zoha. Here is yours. Hello, dear Amna. Here is a beautiful name. Hi, dear Animal. Animal. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear. Let's see who's next. Judy. Here is a good name. Hi, dear Jenna. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Yave. Here is yours. Hi, dear. Oh, welcome back, Milena. How are you? It is a beautiful name. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, dear Priyanshi. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Sehran. Here is yours. Hello, hi. Hi, dear Jaros. Here is yours. Hi, dear. Good morning, Prisha. Here is your good name. How are you? Hello, dear Meenakshi. Here is yours. Let's see who is next. Hi, dear me, Ray. Here is a good name. Guys, double tap on your screens and don't forget to press the subscribe button there. Let's see who is next. Hi, dear Prachi. Here is yours. How are you? Hey, dear Talia. Here is yours. Hey, dear Zay. Here is yours. Hi, dear Sita. Here is your beautiful name. Hello, dear Nurul. Here is yours. Hello, dear Ahmad. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Chat GPT. Hello, dear Vanchika. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Shah. Here is yours. Hey, dear Ash. It is a good name. Hi, dear Devu. Here is yours. Don't stop double tapping, guys. Double tap on your screens, and there is a subscribe button waiting for your finger press. Hi, Jeshu. How are you? Hello, dear Maksud. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Dashna. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Falak. Here is yours. Hey, dear Raz. Here is yours. Hello, dear Tanuja. Here is your good name. How are you? Hi, dear Francis. Thank you so much for subscribing. Here is your good name. How are you? Hello, dear Fluffy. Here is yours. Hi, dear. I am good. How about you, Yusuf? Here is a good name. Hello, dear Ahana. Here is yours. Hi, dear GULI. Here is yours. Double tap on your screen, guys. Arika. Thank you so much for subscribing, dear Arika. It is a good name. How are you? Hello, dear Nuwas. Here is yours. Hi, dear Imona. Here is your beautiful name. Hey, dear Sunera. Sunera. Here is yours. Hi, dear Asher. Here is your good name. Hello, dear Adi. Here is yours. Hello, dear Kivat. Here is your good name. How are you? Hi, dear Nooreen. Here is your beautiful name. You're most welcome. Hi, dear Zan. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to double tap on your screens, and there is a subscribe button waiting for your finger press. Your voice is amazing too. Thank you so much, dear Thana. What's a good name? Lots of love, dear. Thank you for your support and love. Hi, dear Anuj. Here is yours. Hi, dear Adya. Here is your good name. You're most welcome. Hey, dear Karen. Here is yours. Hi, dear Ursh. Here is yours. Hi, dear Moni. Here is your beautiful name. Hello, dear Paulina. Here is yours. How are you? Thank you so much, Erika. Lots of love, dear. Thank you. Hi. Velvet. Here, dear Velvet. Here is yours. Hi, dear Aileen. Here is your good name. Thank you so much, Melina. Hi, dear Anika. Here is yours. Let's see who's gonna be the 6-7 liker. Maybe Kritika. Hi, dear Kritika. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Bhargavi. Here is yours. How are you? Hi, dear Anmol. Here is your beautiful name. How are you? Hello, dear Aru. Here is yours. Hello, dear Alia. Here is a good name. Hello, dear Adi. Here is yours. Hi, dear Mayank. Here is yours. Hello, dear Aliza. Thank you so much, Aliza. You are the sweetest, dear. Here is yours. Guys, don't forget to double tap on your screens. Let's see who is next. Deep. Hi, dear Deep. Here is yours. Hey, dear Gabby. Here is your good name. Hi, dear Manisha. Here is yours. How are you? Hello, dear Zoomer. Here is your beautiful name. Hi, dear Achu. Here is yours. Hello, dear Paulina.